They might be the single most crucial class of workers right now, and DPS doesn't have enough of them.
The need is now greater.
Plus, is high school football coming back this year after all? We'll believe it at halftime.
Emotionally, it's difficult for them because, on the one hand, they want to play, but on the other hand, you don't want to get your hopes up.
And 2020 somehow makes going to the DMV even more frustrating.
It should be really easy, and it's not.
Good evening. Very glad you're with us tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Jessica Porter in for Ann Trujillo. As we come to air, Westminster High School is announcing it will abandon in-person classes until at least September 22nd. This after a cohort of 101 students and 6 staff members were exposed to someone with coronavirus.
But even as districts like Westminster struggle to make traditional learning work, Denver Public Schools still has its mindset on getting back into the classroom sooner rather than later.
Right now, though, the district is short the employees needed to safely make it happen. Denver7's Lance Hernandez reports.
Got a little bit crazier this year.
The custodial staff at DPS under pressure to keep classrooms clean and sanitized.
We are spraying down everything.
Facility supervisor Nick Martinez says the demand for clean and sanitized classrooms at DPS is so great.
Any surface the kids can touch or adults can touch, we are spraying them down.
The district needs more custodians.
Coronavirus has changed the way a lot of people work.
With so many students learning remotely, you might think they don't need as many operations employees. But district spokeswoman Wenna McLaren says that's not the case. They have 70 custodial positions open, full and part-time.
This is a really important work for making sure that our students and staff stay healthy.
The pay, $14.77 an hour. Area manager Albert Maxey says most of the work will be done after class. His staff using a sanitizing agent called Morning Mist.
We let it dwell and dry overnight, so when the kids come back the next day, we have a building as clean as it could be.
It's great to see all the extra steps that the custodial staff is doing.
Early childhood education teacher Amy Martinez says she feels safer coming back to work.
And of course, we want the children to be safe. So it's great that, so many teams have been working together to do the best we can to keep everyone safe.
Lance Hernandez, Denver7.
The status of high school football in Colorado has changed more in the last week than the Broncos have changed quarterbacks in the last 3 seasons. Just hours before parents and students began their protest in Highlands Ranch, Chasta's commissioner announced she would be meeting with Governor Polis to talk about possible variances. This, of course, 3 days after Chasta leadership voted to keep the current schedule in place and play football in March.
A lot of players, they need this for scholarships. And if they want us to play in the spring, others like schools in other states are going to get their film out before us, and other schools are going to see their film before ours. Just their name will be first on the recruiting board.
Today, Governor Polis said the window is still open for football and other sports to be played this fall.
Gun sales are up and background checks are behind in Colorado. Before the pandemic and the George Floyd protests, a background check took all of 5 minutes. Now the average wait time is 41 hours. The state's budget office is now requesting an extra $1 million to hire more people to process requests. As many can attest, the DMV is also experiencing its share of problems tonight.
Appointments often have to be scheduled weeks, sometimes months in advance. And in the meantime, people have little choice but to drive around with expired tags and licenses. Liz Gilardi has that story.
Now serving A300.
If you want to book an appointment to get a new Colorado driver's license, you could have to wait until December.
We scheduled one in July for October, but they want us to redo it, and they said December's the soonest time, and I'm not waiting till December to get my license.
Marty Thompson just turned 16 in August, and he's desperately trying to get his license so he can drive to school. He showed up to this office today hoping someone canceled an appointment and he might be able to get in. No luck.
And then once it was my birthday, I was like, I have to get it. And so we're going through that struggle right now.
He's not the only one. Viewers are reaching out to contact Denver7 complaining about long wait times, weeks or even months, just to get the first available appointment for a driver's license.
We just ask for people to be patient.
Julie Brooks with the DMV says when their offices reopened in May, there was a significant backlog. But now it's an issue of reduced capacity, as once crowded DMV offices try to maintain social distancing.
And that's really where it's at. We don't have as many appointments and we're not seeing walk-ins.
Siobhan Fitzpatrick moved here from Texas, and she's been trying to get an appointment too.
It should be really easy, and it's not.
She's concerned about the upcoming election because she wants to register to vote in Colorado.
There are several other ways that they can register to vote. It isn't just through getting your driver's license.
And if you need a new license, the DMV says plan ahead, be patient, and renew online if you can. Liz Gilardi, Denver7.
Freshman enrollment at CU Boulder down 12% this semester, and overall enrollment's down just shy of 2%. Now, maybe it didn't sound like a big deal, but in dollars and cents, it adds up to $25 million in losses. CU now is considering cutting salaries, forcing early retirements, and eliminating positions should this situation not improve.
At 219 cases logged in less than a month, CU Boulder now has more confirmed positive tests of coronavirus than Archuleta, Baca, Cheyenne, Castilla, Custer, Grand, and Gilpin counties combined. CSU has confirmed 123 cases. Colorado College has reported 12.
And overall, Colorado confirmed another 300 cases of the virus today. That puts us past 60,000 year to date. 1,889 people have died in Colorado. 91,000 lives lost nationwide. And tonight makes 6 months since the NBA suspended its season. President Trump shut down travel to some countries, and the World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 crisis a pandemic. And Governor Polis saying today that the statewide mask mandate will likely remain in place for at least another month. But regardless of what the governor orders, health leaders say social distancing and masks are what will get us through until there's a vaccine.
The COVID testing site at the Pepsi Center is beginning to downsize. Starting Sunday, there will be 4 drive-through lanes open instead of 8. The move comes as the city transitions from large-scale operations to smaller sites within communities. The Blue Book is an essential guide through the issues that make up Colorado's ballot. Now, opponents of 2 initiatives would prefer you get your information elsewhere. Here's Megan Lopez.
Inside a socially distanced Denver district courtroom Friday, a last-minute hearing. The question is whether an emergency restraining order should be granted against the state's voter guide, also known as the Blue Book. Those who filed the lawsuit say it doesn't provide an impartial analysis of a question to repeal the Gallagher Amendment.
I'm really worried that in this instance, really affects the credibility of the Blue Book.
But just as quickly as the case was brought up, a judge dismissed it.
The court basically said due to separation of powers issues, it would not overrule and override the clear discretion that the legislature has in setting the Blue Book.
For those opposing the Blue Book's current language,
we are disappointed.
I think we're doing a disservice to the citizens of Colorado, one, by not giving them a fair and unbiased information about this issue.
Others say the process was fair. Similar lawsuits have been brought up to Colorado courts at least 4 times in the past, and each time Colorado courts stayed out of it.
The complaint didn't have merit, and this was basically what appears to be a political stunt.
And the same day this lawsuit was dismissed,
the ballot language doesn't reflect everything in the bill.
A second group is now raising concerns about a different part of the Blue Book. They say its description of Proposition EE, which asks voters about a nicotine tax increase, is unfair and omits key details.
This thing has been Christmas treed to death. We have no idea who gets what and how. There's no guarantee that the money will ever reach education or pre-K.
Normally, the Blue Book is not controversial, but in an election year where just about everything is divisive, even its wording is coming under fire. Megan Lopez, Denver7.
The Chaffee County Sheriff's Department will support an independent search by the brother of Suzanne Morphew. Andrew Mormon is expected to command a crew of hundreds of volunteers when he arrives in Colorado later this month. The sheriff's office says it cannot lead the effort because of liability issues, but will have its crime scene unit on hand to examine any evidence that is collected. Suzanne Morphew was last seen on Mother's Day. Foul play has not been ruled out.
Even in a pandemic, we remember. We climb the stairs of red rocks and scale buildings. We talk with our family and friends about where we were that day and when we knew our world had changed forever. For Jason Dahl of Littleton, it was in the cockpit of United Flight 93. He actually had traded flights with another pilot so he could celebrate his wedding anniversary the next weekend. Kathleen Laborit, the head of the flight, she was a head flight attendant on United Flight 175. That was the plane that crashed into Tower 2. She was born and raised in Colorado Springs, working in politics before taking to the skies. There was Maclovio Joe Lopez Jr., who had family in Pueblo. He was aboard the same flight as Karen. Alec Mehta, a CSU student, interning at the World Trade Center, and it was only his third day on the job. And today, in fact, a scholarship is named in his memory. Kit Farriger worked for a Denver investment firm and was attending a training session inside one of the towers. Every year, young men and women go to college thanks to a foundation that bears her name. Chris Fawnin, originally from Lafayette, met his wife at CU Boulder. They moved to the Big Apple, where he worked as a trader and raised 3 children. He was on the 103rd floor of the North Tower that day. And then finally, there was Nina Bell, a CU grad, just starting a brand new job in New York City. A day earlier, she emailed a friend. She wrote, quote, "I am very happy." We remember, and we'll be right back.